just to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And I want to take a moment as well to thank the amazing folks from Armour Transport. Fabulous conversation upstairs, and I want to thank them for being such an important and integral part of our economy. Moving goods, getting goods moving, it's such an important topic today. We are, of course, in the Burnside Industrial Park, the economic engine of Atlantic Canada, I like to call it. Thousands of people moving in and out here every day. Over 1,000 companies here in Burnside Industrial Park, and it's a place that has been near and dear to my heart since I was a small boy when my father had a business here just a couple streets down in the late 60s and early 70s. So folks, as the local representative for Dartmouth Cole Harbour, I'm of course proud to have Deputy Prime Minister here today, the Minister of Finance, someone who has a very, very deep understanding of how the economy works and how Canada is doing today in this, some people say very turbulent times, but I couldn't be more proud to have Chrystia here today in Dartmouth Cole Harbour and here in Burnside and at Armour Transport. Folks, please a warm welcome for our Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I really want to thank my wonderful colleague, Darren Fisher. It is great to be here with him in Dartmouth. We've hung out in Dartmouth before, and he always introduces me to some of the amazing people who make Dartmouth and Nova Scotia and Canada such a wonderful place. And I do also really want to thank the people from Armour, who I've had the pleasure of spending a few hours with today. I really learned a lot. They had a few things they'd like me to fix. I'm going to work on that. And they have a very deep and granular insight into what's happening to the Canadian and US economy, because they move the stuff that makes our economy work. So I really, really learned a lot today, and I'm really grateful. And you know, I think all of us who are not truckers had an opportunity during COVID to realize who really does the essential work in our country. And truckers and trucking companies are among the most essential pieces of the Canadian economy. You know, they are literally the circulation system of our economy. So it was a pleasure and an honor to spend some time with you. As our economy continues to recover from the COVID recession, strong supply chains will be vital to our economic growth in the months and years to come. Truckers are absolutely vital. That's why our government has been working hard to keep our trucking industry strong. We fought very hard to protect NAFTA and Canada's trading relationship with the United States, something that the people here know quite a lot about.
Pour s'assurer que l'industrie du camionnage demeure compétitive dans l'économie verte du demain, nous investissons pour aider à rendre les camions plus éco-énergétiques. Et nous aidons les entreprises à intégrer davantage de camions zéro émission dans leur parc du véhicule. Et nous aidons d'extraordinaires entreprises canadiennes comme celle-ci à embaucher et à offrir d'emplois bien rémunérés pour la classe moyenne. Nous le faisons en améliorant la mobilité de la main-d'œuvre et la reconnaissance des titres de compétences étrangers.
In a world dealing with supply chain challenges, it's companies like Armour that are critical in keeping our shelves stocked and making life more affordable for Canadians. And right now, that's more important than ever. We all know that inflation is making life more expensive for people here in Dartmouth and across the country. We also know that inflation is a global phenomenon. It's driven by Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, by China's COVID zero policies, and by the snarled supply chains that are affecting people and businesses around the world. But I know that Canadians are feeling it when they go to buy their groceries. I know they're feeling it when they go to fill up their cars or trucks with gas. So what is our government doing to help Canadians weather this latest storm? For the Canadians who need it most, our government has an affordability plan to help directly with the rising cost of living. Our affordability plan includes an enhanced Canada Workers benefit that will put up to $2,400 more into the pockets of low-income families. We're cutting childcare fees by an average of 50% by the end of this year. There is a 10% increase in old age security for seniors 75 and over. That started last month. Dental care for Canadians with income under $90,000 per year, beginning with children under 12. And again, that's going to begin this year. A $500 payment to help people who rent and who are struggling with the cost of housing. Again, that's going to come this year. And then, of course, our main support programs, including the Canada Child Benefit, the GST credit, the Canada Pension Plan, old age security, and the GIS, the Guaranteed Income Supplement, are indexed to inflation and will be increasing. So what does that mean specifically for the people here? For a couple here in Dartmouth with an income of $45,000 and a child in daycare, this affordability plan could mean roughly an additional $7,300 on top of existing benefits this fiscal year. A senior with a disability living in, say, Cape Breton could benefit from over $2,500 more this year than she received last year. Il est important de garder à l'esprit que ces mesures ne viendront pas empirer les choses. Elles sont prévues dans notre cadre financier côté AAA. Elles ont également été prises en compte dans le budget responsable que nous avons déposé en avril. Dans ce budget, nous nous sommes engagés à réduire de façon responsable les dépenses gouvernementales de 9 milliards de dollars. But for the Canadians who need the support the most, for the most vulnerable Canadians among us, these measures represent new money that they did not receive last year, and these measures will make life affordable at exactly the right time. This is a difficult time for people around the world, and it's a challenging time for Canadians too. But thanks to companies like Armour and the amazing people who work here, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that there is no country in the whole world better positioned to weather the economic storm that the world is facing than Canada. We're really, really lucky, and Canada absolutely is the country which is in the best place to get through today's challenges. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take your questions.
Minister, what was it that...
And give me 30 seconds to fold up my papers, because otherwise they're going to fly all over the place.
Can you say your name and
Sure.
Okay, please.
I'm Paul Bacon with All Nova Scotia. Good afternoon.
Hi.
What specifically does Armour want you to fix?
I think that you can talk to Armour about that. But one thing that I heard loud and clear from them, that I have actually been hearing from trucking companies across the country, and indeed from companies in a lot of different sectors, is we have labor force shortages in Canada. And we talked about two specific ways that we can do a better job of filling those labor shortages. One of them is immigration. I think, as finance minister, one of Canada's real economic strengths today is we are probably the country in the world, certainly the industrialized country in the world, which is the best at welcoming immigrants. And actually Atlantic Canada has really been showing that recently with your special Atlantic Canada program. But I think we need to do even better. We have jobs that need to be done in Canada. There are lots of people all over the world who would love to come here and do those jobs, and we talked about some specific ways to help make that happen. The second thing we talked about is training. And again here, I do think that the federal government, working with employers, working with unions, working with provinces and territories, needs to really focus on the sectors of the economy where we have a shortage of people with the training they need to do those jobs. And it's just common sense. We need to help those people get that training so they can do those jobs. So it was actually a very helpful conversation for me, sort of understanding the specific choke points and talking about what we can do about it.
Are there things about what you heard inside that you could talk to us about? A little bit about what you heard?
I just did.
Is short term, is the solution the training programs you talked about? Immigration would be a longer term solution to the labor shortage.
Yeah, I think the solution is both. I think we need to make it easier for Canadians, the people who are here already, to get the skills they need to do the jobs that need to be filled. And that's something we're working on already. It's something that companies like Armour are very focused on. It's something provincial governments are focused on. But look, I think that we can and should do better. And, for sure immigration is a long-term solution. It's also a medium-term solution, and it's also a solution for tomorrow. And I think we have to work hard on that too.
Thanks, Paul. Next question.
Hi, Dave Laughlin, CBC on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau.
I can't hear you too well, so maybe.
Hello?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Dave Laughlin, CBC News, Parliamentary Bureau. They want to know, you spoke yesterday about how Canada's support for Ukraine hasn't been perfect. Why did our embassy fail to protect its Ukrainian staff when Russia invaded? Wasn't that the least Canada could do?
So, look, I think that is a question which the foreign minister has addressed. I will say about Ukraine, I really believe that Canadians want Canada to stand up for Ukraine. I think Canadians understand the stakes. They understand that Ukraine is being so brave and so resourceful in fighting for its sovereignty and democracy. But I think Canadians also understand this is about more than Ukraine. This is about a bigger fight for democracy and the rules-based order around the world. And I do want Canadians to know that I personally and our government absolutely believe that we need to continue to support Ukraine. We need to support Ukraine with money. And Canada has been probably the most effective Western country at getting our promised donations into the bank account of the government of Ukraine. And I'm proud of that, and that's something we're going to continue to do. We need to support Ukraine with weapons. One of my colleagues had an announcement today about Operation Unifier. We need to continue to provide that military support, and we need to keep on stepping up the sanctions on Russia, ratcheting up the pressure. We're going to keep on doing all those three things.
Okay. And they have a follow. How is it possible that with all the briefings and international networking you've done on this conflict, that you weren't aware of the threat to vulnerable local staff of a Western embassy like Canada's? It was widely reported as fact by Western news outlets at the time.
Again, let me just be very clear, really about two things. I would not claim that our government has been perfect in anything. No government is, and we haven't been perfect in our support for Ukraine. But what Canadians should understand, and what I know the people of Ukraine understand, is we are absolutely committed to supporting Ukraine. We have supported Ukraine very strongly up until today, and we're going to continue to do that. And I think as Canadians, we can hold our heads up high and really be confident that Canada is among the leaders in the Western Alliance when it comes to support for Ukraine.
Thank you.
Hi there, Graeme Benjamin from Global News here. You just mentioned just the cost of living, inflation, such a struggle for Nova Scotians right now. We ask provincial government what they can be doing. They say inflation is something happened globally. We heard you say the same thing, inflation happened globally. The limits of what this federal government can do. What specifically are you looking from the provincial government to do to make the cost of living more affordable for Nova Scotians? What would you like to see the provincial government doing here locally?
You know what? I'm going to leave you guys to talk to the provincial government about what the provincial government should be doing to help Nova Scotians. But I will talk about what the federal government should be doing and is doing when it comes to affordability and the cost of living. And I'm going to start with what we shouldn't do. I think that it is very important not to make the problem worse. I am very mindful of the importance of not pouring fiscal fuel on the flames of inflation. And that's why in the budget that I tabled in April, I chose to walk a really fiscally responsible line. That has been reaffirmed by the Parliamentary Budget Officer, who just a couple of days ago came out with a report being very clear on the fiscal sustainability of federal finances. So number one, do no harm. Number two, provide support to the most vulnerable among us. And I've just outlined those programs that are in place now that will be providing new support this year when people need it most. And I think we would all agree that support really is going to the people who are the most vulnerable. It's going to seniors. It's going to families with children. It is going to people who have a job but don't earn very much money. It is going to people who have a challenge with housing affordability. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're focused on.
And yeah, just a follow-up question to that. You just mentioned the list of things federal government doing is to make life more affordable here in Nova Scotia. What are the metrics that the federal government's using to define affordable living, and how are you? How is that essentially defined to be living affordably here in Nova Scotia?
It's a very good question, and you know what, we do look very closely at the impact of inflation on people who have different levels of income across Canada. We tend to divide Canadians into, economists do this all the time, we divide Canadians into quintiles, you know, the bottom 20%, the next 20%, and so on. And looking at the impact of inflation on each group is something we've really focused on in thinking about putting these programs in place. The final thing that I should say, and being here at Armour has actually really cheered me up, is, you know, I always think the best way to deal with the cost of living is to have a good job. You know, I think if all of us think about our own lives, how do you pay the bills? How do you pay the rent or your mortgage? By having a job. And the good news about Canada today, and I heard it directly from people here, is there are a lot of jobs available. Good, well-paying jobs working for decent employers. That has not always been the situation. Unemployment in Canada is lower than we have ever seen it as long as we've kept records. And from my perspective, that's probably the single best thing we as a country can do, whether it's employers or the federal government or the provincial government, to support people with affordability.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes today's press conference.
Did anyone?
Okay, thank you very
anyone
much.
From Armour want to take up the minister's invitation to speak? No.
Thanks a lot.